Titanic tells the true story of a fictionalized subplot with Bill Paxton trying to find a prized diamond that was last seen on board of the Titanic to no avail. He is soon contacted by a fictional woman called Rose, a survivor of the tragedy who was drawn wearing the gem found in the wreckage. She then recaps the story in flashback mode, becoming Kate Winslet, a rich snobby woman engaged to a rich snobby douchebag Billy Zane. She's raised by rich snobby mother and friends, one of which being Kathy Bates and the guy from Jumanji, and boards the ship while fictional Jack, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is a poor spontaneous bum who just so happens to win tickets onto the Titanic. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. Rose begins to get depressed and attempts suicide, but Jack saves her and the two start to form a bond. She soon falls for Jack's laid-back, carefree nature, not caring about commercialized goods and just loving life, eventually ditching Billy Zane for him before, of course, the iceberg hits. Oh, sorry, spoilers.
Don't be absurd.
And the slow sinking begins. During the chaos, Billy Zane tries to frame Jack for stealing the prized diamond, having him arrested during the sinking, but he breaks free and he and Rose fight for survival and... well, she wins at least.
Promise me that you'll survive. That you won't give up. No matter what happens.
Jack!
No matter how hopeless.
I'm not crying, you're crying! Why does Leo always die?
Alright, enough of that bullshit.
Before we cut back to present day, Rose still possesses the diamond before... throwing it away like a piece of shit. We'll get to that.
No.
Director James Cameron had always been fascinated with shipwrecks, and he always thought Titanic was the Mount Everest of shipwrecks. It was around this time he thought he was ready to finally do an undersea expedition, but it wasn't until an IMAX movie released some footage shot of the real-life wreckage that he sought out Hollywood for the funds to pay for the undersea adventure and pretty much do the same thing. He admitted it wasn't because he wanted to make the movie, it was more because he just wanted to dive to the shipwreck. He wrote up a treatment and met with 20th Century Fox, calling it Romeo and Juliet on the Titanic. No, because this movie doesn't suck.
Charmed, I'm sure.
They literally replied to him saying, okay, a 3-hour romantic epic? Sure, that's just what we want. Is there a little bit of Terminator in there? Any Harrier jets, shootouts or car chases?
I do apologize.
The studio eventually gave him the green light, but only because they wanted a long-term relationship with the director in the future. They were unsure the movie would even succeed financially, but allowed Cameron to dive to the actual wreckage, shooting footage of it for publicity. He actually had to convince the studio to not just use CGI or models and shoot the real thing. In 1995, they dove to the wreck around 12 times and actually spent more time with the ship than its passengers did back in 1912. And they were literally risking their lives doing this. The depth of the ocean they were at, with the insane water pressure and maybe 6,000 pounds per square inch, all it would have taken would be just one small flaw in the ship's remaining structure and everyone would have died instantly. Furthermore, Cameron also didn't get the best quality footage that he wanted, and they also had another close call as they impacted with the hull, leaving fragments of their own propeller scattered around the wreckage, and even part of the captain's quarters collapsed entirely, as well as an entrance to the grand staircase. We wanted to live up to this level of reality, but there was another level of reaction coming away from the real wreck, which was that it wasn't just a story. It wasn't just a drama. It was an event that happened to real people who really died. Working around the wreck for so much time, you get such a strong sense of the profound sadness and injustice of it and the message of it. You think there probably aren't going to be many filmmakers who go to Titanic. There may never be another one, maybe a documentarian. Due to this, I felt a great mantle of responsibility to convey the emotional message of it, to do that part of it right too.
No, you won't.
After they got the shots under the water, he began writing the script and wanted to honour the people who died, spending 6 months researching every single member of the crew and passengers. He even ended up speaking to and personally providing every one of the extras, or at least around 150 of them, with their own individual names and backstories of their real-life counterparts. I read everything I could. I created an extremely detailed timeline of the ship's few days and a very detailed timeline of the last night of its life. And I worked within that to write the script, and I got some historical experts to analyse what I had written and comment on it, and I adjusted it. I had a library that filled one entire wall of my writing office with Titanic stuff because I wanted it to be right, especially if we were going to dive to the ship. That set the bar higher in a way. It elevated the movie in a sense. We wanted this to be a definitive visualization of this moment in history, as if you'd gone back in a time machine and shot it. So why not use real people as your main characters?
Why can't you just answer the question?
He inserted Bill Paxton's character in to represent people who never really connected with this very real part of the whole tragedy, using the romance between Jack and Rose as the most engaging part, making the death at the end that more tragic. All my films are love stories, but in Titanic I finally got the balance right. It's not a disaster film, it's a love story with a fastidious overlay of real history. Originally, both Kate Winslet and Gloria Stewart, who played elderly Rose, wanted their character to die at the end of the film, but Cameron refused, and he wouldn't even tell anyone what he intended to have as the ending of the movie.
We're so full of shit. shit, boss.
The sets of the interiors were built using not only photographs of the real vessel, but also plans from the Titanic's actual builders to make it as accurate as possible, even using two historians, Don Lynch and Ken Marshall, for verification. When casting the fictional Jack, Matthew McConaughey, who also came close to being cast as Billy Zane's character, Chris O'Donnell, Billy Crudup and Stephen Dorff were all considered, but he felt like they were all too old to portray a 20-year-old. Didn't stop Chris O'Donnell doing it in Batman Forever. Ironically, DiCaprio lost out on that role to him, so I guess it worked both ways. Karma.
I'll be goddamned.
Christian Bale auditioned, but Cameron didn't want two British actors playing two Americans. He wanted River Phoenix, but he had sadly passed away at this point. Paul Rudd auditioned, but apparently sucked. Johnny Depp was offered the part, but turned it down and later called it one of the biggest mistakes of his entire career. No, Johnny, that would be Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Don't do it.
Others considered were Ethan Hawke, Brad Pitt, and even Macaulay Culkin. Home Alone 3, Lost at Sea.
I see it. I see it.
Tom Cruise showed interest but asked for too much money. James Cameron considered Jared Leto, but he refused to even try out. And originally, DiCaprio even said no. He wouldn't even read the script. Cameron had to plead for Leo to reconsider, insisting that it wasn't going to be the character he thought it would be. Look, I'm not going to make this guy brooding and neurotic. I'm not going to give him a tick and a limp and all the things you want. He'll be more of a James Stewart type. I need the cast to be portrayed as if they really are on the Titanic, to relive its liveliness, and in order to do that, you'll need to have all of the energy an artist will need to have your heart soar. Although the character wasn't real, there was a Joseph Dawson who shoved coal in the bowels of the ship, but unfortunately there's no connection, as this wasn't discovered until after the movie came out. Though his body was actually recovered and buried in Fairview Lawn Cemetery in Nova Scotia with many other victims of the event. Many actresses were considered for the part of young Rose, including Gwyneth Paltrow, Winona Ryder, Claire Danes, Gabrielle Anwar, Marcella Mick, Jennifer Aniston, Vanessa Angel, Christina Applegate, Rosanna Arquette, Drew Barrymore, Kate Beckinsale, Julie Benz, Rosie Byrne, Nev Campbell, Gabrielle Carteres, Jennifer Connelly, Holly Marie Combs, Brittany Daniel, Gina Davis, Amanda Donahoe, Cameron Diaz, Minnie Driver, Eliza Dushku, Claire Forlani, Jodie Foster, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Sally Hawkins, Katherine Heigl, Amelia Heinley, Natasha Henstridge, Eva Herzigova, Angelina Jolie, Mila Jovovich, Nicole Kidman, Alison King, Jordan Ladd, Robin Lively, Carrie Lowell, Madonna. Leslie Mann, Sophie Marceau, Penelope Ann Miller, Michelle Monaghan, Thandie Newton, Christina Ricci, Jolie Richardson, Kerry Russell, Jerry Ryan, Nicolette Sheridan, Ian Sky, Tori Spelling, Sharon Stone, Charlize Theron, Uma Thurman, Rachel Weisz, Alicia Witt and Reese Witherspoon. They all turned down the opportunity, and Winslet, who was just 20 at the time, tried her hardest to land the role. She did a screen test with Leo and was so blown away by his performance, she even told James Cameron if they didn't cast her, they should definitely go for him. Can anyone not love Kate Winslet?
Not really.
Despite the film inserting fictionalized characters and events, Kathy Bates' character was a real person. Margaret Brown, nicknamed the unsinkable Maggie Brown because she was a very strong woman who commandeered one of the lifeboats. Victor Garber's character, Thomas Andrews, who built the ship, though his character is often changed. The movie depicts him standing by a clock waiting for his inevitable death, but in reality he was rarely seen after 1:40 AM. Some witnesses claimed he remained in the smoking room to gather his thoughts, but then maintained them enough to continue helping people evacuate, even throwing deck chairs overboard for people to use as floating devices. Some, however, claim that he did escape at the very last minute. There's a shot of an elderly couple who cuddle in bed together awaiting their death. This was Ida and Isidore Strauss, who were real. They owned a Macy's department store in New York, and Ida was actually offered a seat on a lifeboat, but she refused so she could stay with her husband. She claimed, "As we have lived together, so we shall die together." This was actually filmed for the movie but cut out, though Rose's line,
"You jump high, jump right,"
was a real thing spoken by Ida herself. Obviously, the captain, Edward John Smith, played by Bernard Hill. Sadly, he was retiring after the Titanic. It was due to be his final ever voyage, and it would ultimately end up becoming so. Some say his death in the movie is accurate, as he returns to the captain's bridge to die. Others say he escaped and froze in the water later, but it did cause controversy as people lambasted Cameron for portraying his suicide like this when it's not even been proven. The director deeply apologized to his family members for the pain caused, but claims it's also not been disproven. Poor defense, mate. Poor defense.
Sorry.
Jumanji man Jonathan Hyde plays the real J. Bruce Ismay, one of the rich, snooty posh boys. And in the film, he actually pressures the captain to go much faster than they should have to reach New York early, but there's been no evidence to back up if this ever did or didn't really happen. He managed to make it out okay, and the press and public all lambasted him for surviving this disaster, while many other women and children had sadly died. The movie shows Jack, a third-class passenger, constantly sneaking into first class but getting caught. Though in real life, Hilda Maria Hellstrom, who was in third class, actually did sneak into first class out of curiosity and was never caught. She was, however, in third when the iceberg hit, and she even ended up surviving on a lifeboat. Weirdly, one of the passengers, Patrick A. O'Keefe, was a young man, just 21 years at the time. Just days before boarding the ship, he began to have horrifying dreams of the Titanic sinking, and he nearly cancelled his ticket altogether. He went ahead anyway, but did manage to survive on a life raft, later passing away from unknown causes at the age of just 48.
How extraordinary.
Filming began in July of 1996 in Nova Scotia before being relocated in September to Mexico for the ship scenes. Although the shoot started out fine, some found Cameron to be quite intimidating, uncompromising, and a hard-charging perfectionist. There were times when I was genuinely frightened of him. Jim has a temper like you wouldn't believe. God damn it, he would yell at some poor crew member. That's exactly what I didn't want. Oh, nice to see he influenced Christian Bale.
The fuck are you doing?
I was familiar with his work ethic from previous films, but this one, there were a lot of people on the set. Jim is not one of those guys who has the time to win hearts and minds. This was so bad, an angry crew member actually sought revenge one day, putting PCP into Cameron's soup. But he wasn't the only one to eat it, as 50 others were sent to hospital, including Bill Paxton. And strangely, it was never even discovered who was the culprit. Probably Arnold, so they couldn't do a Terminator 3.
Good gracious.
In fact, Cameron even threatened to fire anyone who got out of the water during the lifeboat scenes, even if they needed a toilet break. Kate Winslet admitted she even pissed herself right there in the water. Ew. I'd still smash her.
Okay, quiet. We're rolling.
Filming was scheduled to last only 138 days, but stretched to 160, with members of the cast catching colds, flus, and kidney infections due to being in the cold water. Kate Winslet was so unhappy she vowed to never work with the director again unless she was given a whole lot of money. I guess they found her price.
Sure.
Many people walked out of the production, 3 stuntmen received broken bones, but the Screen Actors Guild investigated the project and found nothing unsafe about the set. Leonardo DiCaprio backed this up, claiming there was no point where he felt like he was in danger whilst filming. James Cameron admitted he had a passionate work ethic, but he did acknowledge their complaints but never apologized. I'm demanding, and I'm demanding on my crew. In terms of being kind of militaresque, I think there's an element of that in dealing with thousands of extras and big logistics and keeping people safe. I think you have to have a fairly strict methodology in dealing with a large number of people.
Yes, sir.
Amazingly, the film cost $200 million to make, which is estimated to be around $1 million per minute of screen time. In fact, the movie cost more to make than the original Titanic ship itself. I struggle to buy Pringles.
Why are you being so selfish?
The studio began to panic, wanting to cut off an hour from the film's running time, worried that a 3-hour film would be shown less and make less money. Even though long epics are usually the ones that pick up more Academy Awards, but yeah, whatever. Difference is, this one deserves them.
Yeah.
Cameron flat out refused to make any cuts and even said, "You want to cut my movie? You're gonna have to fire me. You want to fire me? You're gonna have to kill me."
Just chill, boss.
Impressively though, the 3 hours was cut. It was originally intended to be 4 hours, so I guess they were lucky to have gotten that. The studio didn't want to have to start over after all the money they'd already invested, and Cameron even offered to give up his share of the profits, but they refused, not believing there would be any profits in the first place. They did, however, eventually accept this offer, as Cameron explained that this was far more expensive than his other films, and they made an insane profit. And as the director and producer, he would take responsibility, softening the blow for the studio. Previous films about the sinking showed it in slow motion, which Cameron felt didn't look convincing enough, instead using digital water and smoke, also using a lot of motion capture. Models were used for the actual sinking with a green screen to help, but one cut Cameron did make was that the SS Californian ship was nearby to the Titanic that night and actually had the ship in sight during the entire sinking. But sadly, they turned off their radio and didn't hear the distress calls or see their distress flares. This was originally going to be used in the movie but was cut out, not finding it important enough for the story, and he wanted it all to remain more claustrophobic, all told from the victim's point of view aboard the Titanic. The ending was also changed, which we'll get onto later, with a resolution with Bill Paxton, but Cameron felt after 3 hours the audience would no longer care and changed it to the ending we all saw, and another scene was cut where Jack got into a fight with Billy Zane's servant during their escape, but audiences reacted poorly at test screenings, many claiming it was unrealistic to put their own lives at risk in a situation like this for some money. Which doesn't make any sense because he obliged and actually cut these scenes out, so agreeing with them, but yet there's scenes later on that he kept in, but I'll get to that later.
I forbid it.
The insane special effects caused constant delays in release, but Titanic finally premiered on November the 1st, 1997 at the Tokyo International Film Festival, with audiences not actually finding it too spectacular at first. Everyone had given up hope on this production. They all expected box office failure, especially since it was the most expensive film ever made at the time. Many attended the premiere confident that they were about to lose their jobs. Even James Cameron himself thought that he was now headed for disaster, convinced that the studio had lost $100 million. He received constant abuse from people as the premiere neared closer, blaming his ego and delusions for already sabotaging the project. Milvina Dean, who is a Titanic survivor, was actually invited to attend the premiere, but she refused, finding previous films of the tragedy hard enough to watch as it is. It was then premiered in Hollywood on December the 14th, which is when the buzz officially began, earning an incredible worldwide total of $2.1 billion, making it the highest grossing movie in history at the time, until the inferior Avatar followed 12 years later. It was the first film to ever earn more than $1 billion, and when adjusted for inflation, it remains the 5th highest grossing in history. It also became known as one of the films to make grown men cry their eyes out, but actually, Cameron already did that 6 years prior, but yeah, sure.
Really?
The success spread from word of mouth so quickly, and Titanic was a huge hit. In fact, it was played in cinemas for so long, Paramount had to actually send out replacement reels as the theatres had literally worn out all of their copies. But it's weird because DiCaprio and Kate Winslet are actually both ashamed of these performances. Kate considers her American accent awful and says her acting could have been a lot better, and Leo claims he just came across as a young punk. In 2003, the movie managed to win a poll of best film endings ever, but that same year, it was also selected as the worst movie ever made. You'll need to see more movies.
I guess we'll find out.
Empire originally loved the film, giving it 5 stars, but after receiving a backlash for agreeing with the hype, they retracted it, lessened their rating, and gave a less positive review to cater to the audience.
Shut up!
It was to the point people loved the film, but then it became a cool trend to hate it. Weirdly, Empire soon gave back its 5-star rating, admitting that it was just fashionable to hate the movie. This is a real magazine, right?
Damn it!
And Premiere listed the famous line,
I'm the king of the world!
as the 4th greatest in history, while the American Film Institute picked it as the 100th, which is amazing because it wasn't even written. DiCaprio improvised it on the spot. And the AFI also listed the movie as the 6th greatest epic blockbuster in history and the 83rd best overall. Titanic went on to scoop up 4 Golden Globes for Best Drama, Best Director, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song for...
The heart does go on.
Weirdly, Celine Dion never even wanted to record the song, hating the demo provided to her, but she did it to shut her husband up, and Kate Winslet even admitted she hates the song with her passion.
You're a good liar.
It was nominated for 10 BAFTAs, but sadly walked away empty-handed, but did scoop up a whopping 11 Academy Awards for Best Director, Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, Best Visual Effects, Best Film Editing, Best Costume Design, Best Sound Effects Editing, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song. Fun fact for you, Gloria Stewart actually became the oldest person to ever be nominated for an Oscar at the age of 87.
Now there's something you don't see every day.
It also went on to win 3 Grammys and was re-released in 2012 in 3D, for some reason. I mean, did anybody watch the original and think, nah, this doesn't look real enough?
I don't think so.
Now, how much would you all kill me if I said that I think this is James Cameron's best film? Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Oh, not to worry.
I love Terminator 1 and 2. I love Aliens. I kinda like Avatar. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm already so invested with the real life story of this tragedy that I love it a bit more. The casting is perfect. They could not have found anyone better for these roles. Most of the time you kind of forget their acting. They just shift naturally into these characters. So much so, a lot of it is improvised.
Over on the bed, the couch.
That was a genuine blooper by Leo. He actually messed up and Cameron decided to keep it in. As soon as Kate Winslet learned that she was going to be naked in front of Leonardo DiCaprio, she wanted to break the ice, so as soon as she met him, she flashed him instantly. Lucky bastard!
Only you can do that.
The scene where Rose thanks Jack for saving her life was improvised. The scene where he teaches her how to spit was improvised. Her later spitting in Billy Zane's face was actually her idea. It was originally going to be her stabbing him with a hairpin, but they required so many takes she eventually ran out of spit and had to use lube. Lucky bastard!
So what happened next?
But I'm not a fan of all of it, so let's just start from the top. I'll just say it. The entire first 21 minutes are entirely pointless. All of this setup does nothing. None of this benefits the narrative of the story whatsoever. When you are watching Jack and Rose fleeing for their lives, not once are you wondering or concerned about the damn diamond. You don't care, it's lost in the shadows and forgotten. You're making a real tragedy where 1,500 people died about money and greed. It's wrong, it's unnecessary. Elderly Rose is pointless too. Why? Because this takes away any suspense whenever her character is in danger because she's the one telling the story, so you know she's not gonna die. Why not just open the film in 1912 with Kate Winslet? We don't know her, we don't know if she makes it out okay. This way it's just unnecessary. I defend the 3-hour running time and I still say this is pointless. There are some things later on that I'll go over where they could have spent this time developing them, but instead we get this pointless nonsense.
It's okay, just try to remember anything at all.
But specifically, where the hell the expensive diamond is, you old bitch! By the way, how does Rose, remember scenes that she wasn't in and would have no way of finding out.
The experience of it was somewhat different.
Oh, and they claim she's 101. They never specify the year this is actually set in, but we're to assume 1997, meaning she was born in 1896, meaning she was 16 when she boarded the Titanic. Jack bangs a 16-year-old. And a 16-year-old is weirdly engaged.
There's truth but no logic.
Right, Billy Zane's character is kinda silly. He is the most dastardly, over-the-top bad guy in the history of dastardly, over-the-top bad guys. Is he the Trunchbull's son? As soon as he speaks, you can tell he's an asshole.
You can be blasé about some things, Rose, but not about Titanic.
Oh, do you hate me yet?
God, not those finger paintings again.
God, did I mention I'm the snobby douchebag of the picture? And he just gets so over the top and evil, it's unreal.
My wife in practice, if not yet by law, so you will honor me. You will honor me the way a wife is required to honor a husband.
By getting me a sandwich and pleasuring me sexually. I am evil. He slaps her, the ship is sinking, and he even gets his servant to steel frame Jack and handcuff him in a room. Jesus Christ, the ship is sinking, dude. Sort out your beef later. He even uses a scared, crying child to pretend to be a single father to get a lifeboat. Imagine if that failed horribly.
Please, I'm all she has in the world.
This isn't my dad, I've never seen him before. Hell, he even has the opportunity to escape earlier on. He has a ticket to freedom and he still decides to stick around just to spite Jack. I mean, he obviously doesn't really love Rose, so there's no other reason. Was this dude really holding his kids still long enough for Jack to sketch them both in this much detail? As a parent myself, I call bullshit. There's also no build up to Rose wanting to commit suicide either. She boards the ship with Billy Zane, seems fine, they have dinner and I guess she gives a couple weird looks, but then nope, it's no good, I must dive over. Where did this come from? Like I said, you could have scrapped the first 20 minutes and given her more scenes contemplating her life, deciding to go on a different route. Otherwise, this is just random and out of nowhere.
I remember when I was a kid, me and my father, we went ice fishing out on Lake Wissota.
Actually, Lake Wissota wasn't created until 1917. I'm just saying.
You'll be killed.
I'm a good swimmer.
Not good enough, mate.
You're crazy.
That's what everybody says, but with all due respect, miss, I'm not the one hanging off the back of a ship here.
He's got you there. I love the dialogue. And I adore the chemistry between the two actors. It just feels real and genuine. The admiration in their eyes when they look at one another. You wouldn't have thought these hadn't met before. They feel like a real couple, and I won't lie, they're just adorable together. Just a few minutes later, Rose tells Jack to leave her alone, calls him annoying, but keeps finding excuses to stick around. It's honestly cute as hell. She insults him and refuses to admit she kinda likes him due to her current relationship status. And you know what? I get upset when Jack dies. The character is so damn likable throughout the entire movie. He really is. He isn't materialistic. He's a poor guy who doesn't have a lot but embraces what he does have. He has this huge thirst for life and it bounces off of Rose's character really well. It's an incredibly inspiring persona.
See you.
And?
I feel you. Every night. In my dreams. And Jack has to teach her his lifestyle. He has to show her how to be lower class. I mean, how the hell did they make a spitting scene so charming? Don't ask me, but they manage it. Then her mum shows up, which is hilarious. And it's just hilarious to see Jack trying to impress posh people, attempting to mimic their actions and to learn their ways. He continues this when he has to figure out how to eat their fancy food. It's brilliant, and he gives this great and inspiring speech about life that really is motivating. And it baffles me when people call the script poorly written.
I figure life's a gift, and I don't intend on wasting it. You never know what hand you're gonna get dealt next. You learn to take life as it comes at you.
And again, Jack takes her to a bum party to show her how to let loose and enjoy herself. It's really so charming and shows that money doesn't buy happiness. Well, actually it does. Link to my Patreon in the description below. Give me money. But she starts to slowly realise how much happier this life makes her. She spots people getting drunk and collapsing but still having fun. The romance and the transition are both slowly progressed, which is exactly why I defend the 3-hour running time. I was never once bored the entire time.
You think you're big tough men? Let's see you do this. Hold this for me, Jack. Hold it up.
She threatens big strong men and then stands on her tiptoes. Oh. You think you're a big, tough man, huh? Well, let's see you do this. But if there's any line of dialogue that shows real, true love...
You're no picnic. All right? You're a spoiled little brat even. But under that, you're the most amazingly astounding, wonderful woman that I've ever known.
Brilliant. He's wrong, though. Kate Winslet is perfect.
And she will be mine.
And again, she's reluctant to tear herself away from her current life. It's not forced, it's believable, it's slow but effective. And in the very next scene, she changes her mind. What the hell? Where the hell did this come from? She literally says, I can't be with you, I need to stay away from you. I'm with this guy. Then in the very next scene, she actually says,
I changed my mind.
why cram 21 minutes of worthless crap at the start when you could have spent that time transitioning these random changes in characters? They're just random and out of nowhere.
My heart was pounding the whole time.
And later that night, it wasn't the only thing.
It was the most erotic moment of my life.
Ew! But oh well, Jack and Rose flipping off Zane's servant and giggling like rebellious little kids is hilarious. It's just so gosh darn cute. I just want to pinch the little cheeks. I can't wait for them to move in together and have loads of kids. But remember kids, it's okay to cheat if you're with an abusive douchebag. No, it isn't. Just leave him, you bitch. Alright, I guess she does eventually. By letter. And she banged Jack before he even had the chance to read it anyway. And she even did stuff with him when she was with Billy Zane and then put her nudes in his safe just to spite him. Rose, I'm starting to question you, love.
When the ship docks, I'm getting off with you.
Well, you just did. But yeah, way to skew historical facts and make it look like the two lookouts didn't spot the iceberg because they were too busy perving on a couple making out. Speaking of which, where the hell were the lookouts when Rose was attempting suicide earlier? I will say, the cinematography throughout is easily the best part. Everything looks amazing, from the ship to the action. When the iceberg is spotted, so much is going on at once, and yet you don't miss any of it. It's all edited together so seamlessly. The iceberg hitting, the water filling in, it looks incredible.
She's all buckled in the forward hull.
Can you shore up?
Not unless the pumps get ahead.
Have you seen the damage in the mail hold?
No, she's already underwater.
This is bad.
Thanks for that, Leo. Brilliant input there.
May!
It really is heartbreaking to see this on the big screen, knowing it really happened and affected so many lives. In fact, it's even more heartbreaking when you realise it was discovered that if the ship would have hit the iceberg head on rather than trying to steer to the left like they did to avoid it, it would have actually survived. It would have been damaged slightly, sure, but it would have easily made it to New York just a day or two late. In fact, no ship has ever, before or since, had a sideswipe collision with an iceberg like the Titanic did. It's been estimated that the impact was the equivalent to a C4 explosion that most modern vessels would have struggled to survive today.
Blimey.
Also, planting the diamond on Jack to frame him, also entirely pointless. Like, why did Cameron feel the need to put in all of these unnecessary subplots? It's a real tragedy of thousands dying. Jack goes on, gets with Rose, steals her from an arsehole. You don't need all of this added garbage.
I don't think anybody knows what the hell's going on around here.
Especially my accent.
I don't understand a one of you.
I don't understand how anyone let this accent slide. I love Kathy Bates, but why couldn't she just use her real accent? Oh, hey, look, it's Jack's buddy! Yeah, remember when he won the ticket to board the ship and he had a friend with him? Well, he completely vanished after that. Now we're nearly 2 hours in and he pops back up again. Say hi, he's important.
Shut that hole in your face!
I honestly do think this film shows Cameron's true genius. This shot of the ship beginning to sink is amazing as Jack notices out the window with epic ominous music playing. It is just perfection. And as Zane tries to get Rose to board a lifeboat, she delivers one of my favourite lines in movie history.
I'd rather be his whore than your wife.
Too bad they stole it from Twin Peaks.
I'd rather be his whore than your wife.
Damn it. The suspense is honestly impeccable as water begins to fill the room Jack's in while Kate is rushing around trying to find him in time. And it's really emotional to see everything she goes through to save him. She returns to rescue him despite how deeply filled the corridors are now. I would have ditched him by now. I'm coming, Jack! I'm coming! Well, I tried.
Wait. Try a couple practice swings over there.
Is this really the time for target practice? The ship is sinking! Hurry your ass up! And she even does it with her eyes closed and still manages to do it first try. Yeah, no. Oh look, Jack's mate is back, see? He's important to the story! And then they reunite, it's emotional, we totally care! Tension continues to grow the more desperate the characters get, teaming up to break down gates. Despite the fact you already know the ending, you want everyone to still make it out okay. It does an amazing job making you forget just how predictable it is. But wouldn't this just be the most unfortunate death? You're on the Titanic and you're crushed to death by a lifeboat.
I'm a survivor, alright? Don't worry about me. Now go on, get on.
I have an arrangement with an officer on the other side of the ship. Jack and I can get off safely. Both of us.
So why can't Rose just get on the same boat that he's arranged for him and Jack? I mean, it turns out he's lying, but why doesn't she suggest that? I don't understand. And now Billy Zane is literally trying to sabotage any chance Jack has of surviving. He is trying to murder this man. Because did they mention he's evil? She does jump back on, which again is in the name of love. I'll probably do the same thing because I'm stupid and in love.
You're so stupid. Why'd you do that, huh? You're so stupid, Rose.
See? They're just so gosh darn adorable. And Zane even resorts to start shooting them. Jesus Christ, let it go. Calm down, mate. You're on a sinking ship. The sound design is also amazing. Subtle touches like the creaking of the vessel only adds to the terror. I have a phobia of the water already, which is probably why I'm so invested in the horror of the situation. But I also feel like this is probably the worst way to die, so it's that more scary. This also feels unnecessary. We already love Jack Cameron. We didn't need more reasons. And this shot of them running in slow-mo through the flooding corridor is spectacular. This is the part of the movie where I'm just going to be repeating myself, but I don't care. They rush to pick up the keys underwater and the suspense is extraordinary. I'm running out of adjectives, but it's that good. And probably unintentional, but it is quite amusing seeing people remain calm, even dressing up their best for the deaths, and even continuing to have drinks. This woman is putting her kids to bed for some reason. You do realise they're letting women and children off, right? And this is the genius of James Cameron. The direction is flawless. This whole montage of the entire disaster is played to the violins of these guys, and then afterwards...
Gentlemen, it has been a privilege playing with you tonight.
This is honestly done to perfection. And James Cameron, I want to suck your dick.
Do you love him?
And the cinematography for the final sinking is truly mind-blowing to see. It looks so real. 3D wasn't needed, and this is some of the greatest action and cinematography I have ever witnessed. How can anyone dispute this awesomeness?
We have to stay on the ship as long as possible, come on!
No, thanks for that, Einstein. All of this time I was trying to feed my lungs some water. Get him a medal, bloody genius. Oh look, it's Jack's friend, he's back. Remember, he's important. Oh, and he's dead. It only gets more and more intense as the ship begins to tilt vertically. It's so dramatic. And what I love is, it's not just amazing special effects, but it's amazing special effects with an amazing story and script behind it, most of which was practical. This is my shit right here, and I absolutely adore it. As people start sliding down the deck, it is heartbreaking to see, but it's also so breathtaking as a visual spectacle all at the same time. No idea if that was supposed to be funny or not, but it was. And we cut to a wide shot of the ship from Rose's mum's point of view as well to see the destruction. It's amazing storytelling. Do we even need to say anything here? Jesus Christ, I'm gonna jizz my pants. And the fact that they end up back here with Rose saying,
Jack, this is where we first met.
is so good. It all comes full circle, and amazingly, it was Kate Winslet who came up with this line. They brace themselves as they go under, and it's some of the most intense action I have ever seen. All they can do is watch as this horror takes place around them. You are constantly hooked, constantly gripped, and constantly on the edge of your seat. The near 3-hour wait you had to sit through to get here, which by the way was never boring anyway, makes you feel like you earned this. And it's so upsetting to see her amidst a crowd of people scrambling for Jack. At this point, you're begging for them to find each other. Before we get to this scene. Now, everyone's talked about this scene, including my hero Jim Carrey.
Did you feel bad at all letting Leo DiCaprio drown while you were safe floating on the big door? Could you have taken turns? Or were you just too afraid to freeze your big fat ass off?
So let's get this out the way. Yes, they could have both easily fit on the damn door. Mythbusters even proved this, especially using one of the life vests to go under it to keep it afloat. The issue isn't really that, it's more they only try once. Oh well, we tried, night-night. But even then, Jack gives her this big epic speech about her surviving and going on to have lots of babies, and she lets him sacrifice himself. She doesn't put up a fight or anything. He says, I'm gonna die for you, and she just lets him. After all she's gone through for him in this whole movie, this is entirely against her character to not even fight it. Rose, I'm gonna die for you. Okay, thanks, night-night. It's really heartbreaking as well to see everyone beg for lifeboats to come back, only to cut to them refuse. And when they do return to see mostly corpses, it is so sad to see. But, why does his voice echo?
Is there anyone alive out there?
They're at sea. Yeah, there's nothing for their voice to like bounce off of. Seriously, look at the size of that goddamn door. You can fit the cast of Seinfeld on that bitch. There's also really nice touches, like when Rose first sees the rescue boat and the audio starts to get muffled, as well as her lying down about to give up and just die before realizing her promise to Jack and getting back up. All conveyed without a single line of dialogue.
That's the last time I ever saw him. He married, of course.
I love how she's judging him for remarrying. Bitch, you cheated on him! On the Titanic! Got with that guy, abandoned your mum, who gave you a decent upbringing, then sent your ex nudes just to spite and laugh at him.
We never found anything on Jack. There's no record of him at all.
No, there wouldn't be, would there?
So basically, she could just be this crazy old lady who made up this entire story.
A woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. But now you know there was a man named Jack Dawson, and that he saved me.
And then I left him to drown and die. And somehow, during all of the sinking, the diamond remained in her pocket, and she just throws it away like that. What a bitch! Bill Paxton had been searching for 3 years for that. Her granddaughter could have used that money, and if not charity, someone could have used it. And even worse, the alternate ending was going to make her even more of a bitch. In the original cut, the others think she's going to commit suicide, but she even teases them with the diamond, uses it against them, and then throws it overboard.
That really sucks, lady!
Yes, it does, but it's worth it just for that line. Titanic is truly a masterpiece. Amazing groundbreaking effects, a heart-wrenching love story with dramatic elements, a few unnecessary subplots, but the action truly makes up for it, and in my mind, James Cameron's greatest work. This was the most research I ever had to put in an episode, and my mind is just filled with Titanic knowledge right now.